Good afternoon to the students. This is the recording of the semester 2 degree first year syllabus. In the previous video, I have completed the unit 2 Banaras. And today's video is unit 3. Now the unit 3 is the poem written by P.B. Shelley. Stanzas written in dejection near Naples. The poem is, the title itself signifies the importance that the stanzas the poem has written when the writer was in dejection, in depression. But if we look at the first beginning lines of the poem, nowhere we can say that the writer is writing the poem in the state of dejection. He starts the poem with a very clear vision, and he talks about the peaceful soul and the beauty of the nature. Then he goes on addressing what he feels in the second, third and fourth paragraphs. So the very first thing the writer says is, the writer, that is P.B. Shelley, was going through a sad phase of his life. He was spending time in Naples, a very pleasant and beautiful place in Italy. The sky was clear, the sun was bright, the blue sea was like a crystal. Sea waves were dancing fast, isles, those are the islands, and mountains were glowing, according to the description of the beginning lines of the poem. So Shelley, the poet's soul, was fascinated, that is, he is very much amazed or wondered at the beauty of the nature. His imagination flew sky high. His imaginative power of the mind could touch the sky. That is how it is being said. And the poem flowed down in a flood. So when he touched the sky, the poem has taken the shape of a literature. The result, a feast to every reader. A feast means when we read the poem, we can enjoy the same imagination. And it is a good thought, food to our mind. Nature was at its best in manifesting itself beautifully. These are the very first beginning lines where the writer says, every element in nature started singing its glory. The wind whistled, the birds chirped, the sea murmured. Murmured in the sense it is a whispering kind of sound which it sings. Naples' voice echoed everywhere. The birds, the wind, the air, everything. And the writer says that all voices joined into one. They became one voice of happiness for the writer's imagination. They sounded soft like the song of solitude. The theme of song is beauty of nature and it makes everyone happy. So here we can see that the writer is talking about the beauty of the nature and how he feels the peace in the company of the nature. So these lines here we can say that this description is about like many a voice of one delight, the winds, the birds, the ocean floods. The city's voice itself is soft like solitude. So these are the same things being expressed in the poem. But when we come to the next following lines, we see that there is a description in which Shelley suffered several shocks in his personal life. He was seeking solace in nature's lap near Naples. The seashore there was glittering in glory. Shelley was excited. His imagination was ignited. Ignited in the sense it was lit to its maximum. Image after image flowed. The imagination was so smoothly flowing in his mind that one after the other he went on describing the nature. A beautiful painting of nature in words was evolving. As if the writer is giving shape to the nature, as if he is giving up color or painting the nature, so the literary poem has come into existence. Pathetic scenes from personal life flashed in poet's mind. At the same time, the the painful situation that the life the writer was bearing has come to light. He pictured them too. He has given a beautiful picturization of the feelings or the emotions in the form of lines in the poem. He wove a connecting bond too. The united whole looks artistically integrated. If we look at the poem lines, we can say that they are artistically interwoven, means related to each other. For example, here I say the lines of the poem, yet now despair itself is mild. Despair is depression. Mild in the sense even the pain has become a very soothing kind of nature to him. Even as the winds and waters are, I could lie down like a tired child and weep away the life of care. So the writer in these lines exhibits that he is so tired he can simply take rest like a child in the mother's lap. And he can not think of the responsibilities of the life. This is where he is presenting his life or the painful life which has become a kind of soothing power to him. The poet says that his sorrow has slowly been becoming soft. Even the pains are becoming soft to him. The winds and the sea too are slowing down. Just like when we see that at once when the wind blows in the beginning, it has a big blow sound. But slowly it becomes very slow. And exhausted infant cries and cries constantly. Exhausted in the sense, even if the child goes on crying, he cannot keep the volume to the same level. The sound will come down. So also he says the cries and cries constantly. Because of his constant painful life, even the pains have become very soft. That is the only reference here. His stress and suffering are thus swept away. So the writer has so much healing or consoling kind of feeling from the nature. He feels that his stress and suffering of the life has been vanished in the imaginative nature. In the same way, the tired poet is trying to forget his painful and pathetic past. So these are all the imaginations in which the writer doesn't want to remember any of the pains of his life. So this is where the writer was talking about how the nature has become a kind of consoling or soothing friend to his feelings. Then the writer talks in the next following lines that fate shocked Shelley many times. His fate has been shattered many times. That is, misfortune greeted him from multiple corners. Misfortune, the things that no one expects in life, has been the fortune many times in his life. Misfortune actually. His country, public, his critics and even his wives were united in troubling Shelley in various ways. So Shelley is of the opinion that when he was undergoing or when he has to face the problems in life, nobody was an excuse in troubling him. That is the only reference we can take from this. He became dejected. Now because of this, the way people treated him, he became totally depressed or dejected. He turned to nature. Now because the human feelings are all against him, he wanted someone who could really be a friend to him. In that kind of situation, he turns his mind towards the nature. He reached Naples. So in that kind of situation, he happens to be in the place Naples, which is in Italy. He derived some comfort there. Looking at the nature's beauty, he could console his soul. The seashore there presented him with pleasant sights. He pictured that beauty. He described his pathetic state too. He connected both. The Shelley produced this artistic poem. So, looking at the nature of the beauty, which has taken the form of a poem, at the same time the painful life in which he feels that he doesn't have health, he doesn't have wealth, he doesn't have such relatives who can really give him a very comfortable way of leading the life. So keeping all this in mind, he has written a very beautiful poem which we are reading in the form of a poem now. Here we can say that the lines which really presents his feelings are, some might lament that I were cold. In these lines the writer is saying that this is the imagination of his own death, and he thinks that if at all I die, how will be the situation after my death? What the people will discuss? So the writer is saying that some might lament that I were cold. Lament in the sense cry or they may keep the talks going on about me, saying that I was not up to the mark of the responsibilities of the life. That is the lament. As I went, this sweet day is gone. Now the day when the writer is writing these lines is a sweet day for the writer, poet. So that day will be gone. Then, which my last heart, that is, this is the last experience of his mind which has taken form of a poem. And it is the heartful presented poems or heartful feelings which he is presenting in the form of a poem. So he says that it is a last heart, means the last experience of his life. Too soon grown old. Even these lines will become old by the people go on talking about after his death. Insults with this untimely moan. So the writer thinks that if at all he dies, then it will be like insults in an untimely moan. Though that may not be the period where the people should go on discussing or saying something bad about him, but it will be an untimely moan. The poet's stoic acceptance of imminent death is touching. That is, he is accepting that death is sure. So it's a touching feeling when the reader reads the poem. His clear vision of post-death scene is appealing. After the death, the things that he is imagining, we can really experience how the people will talk about one's life. His humble admission of his last heart's untimely moan is moving. When we read this line, it will really make us feel as if the emotions are moved to take the form. Okay. His selection of diction is artistic. Diction is the words which he is making use of in the form of a poem. His mastery of syntax is simply superb. Syntax are the sentences which are written in the form of a poem. So they are simply great. The content and its communication compete with each other in impressing the reader. So when we read the poem, we see that how the human nature has been communicated with each other in an impressive manner with the reader. So this is all about the next following lines in which the writer is giving about his vision after the death. Now we see what the writer said just before the end of the poem. Shelley was in despair. He lost his health, wealth, name, and finally hope. He doesn't even hope that he would be alive even for a day, or there is a ray of hope in his life to come back to the life again. The reasons are his first wife committed suicide, his daughter died young, his second wife had strained relations with him, not a good relation. He needed some consolation badly. He needed someone who could really give him a feeling of comfort. He sought it in nature, and that comfort feeling or soothing or the healing power he found in the form of a nature. He went to Naples, a city known for nature's beauty. So the Naples is the place in Italy which is known for its beauty. So there he went and he finds a kind of consolation for himself. He projects that beauty poetically. He presents the beauty of the nature in the form of a poem that we are reading now. He recollects his gloom too. The problems he has said are also exhibited in the form of a poem. He draws a comparison between the two. So here we can say that the writer is comparing his life and the nature and the life of the simple people. And he finds that his life has been given or measured in a totally different cup. Okay, that is what he talks in the poem. The stanzas came out brilliantly. The lines which are in the form of a poem are very brilliant, very with lot of wit, means a very chosen language and with a very impressive kind of flow is these lines are written. The poet imagines his end. He describes how others would lament his death. He connects his end to the closing of the day. The writer is connecting his life, that is where he accepts that the death is sure, and that death is as if the day comes to an end in the evening. The day comes to an end in the evening. So also the death will give an end to his life. That is the poetic expression. He says the day comes to a close as the sun sets. Yet the day remains in memory. The sun is set and the day is gone. But if we recollect the memory of that particular day, it remains in the mind or the memory of a person. Yet the day remains in memory. The beauty is cherished. The beauty of the nature has cherished, means it has been very intelligently, very brilliantly woven in the form of a poem by the writer. The memories are preserved. So the poem has taken the form of a literature which is there forever. Whenever the reader wants, the reader will read and will understand the beauty of the nature, the painful life the writer has met with. He seems to wish that he might be remembered long after he is gone. So this is the this is a kind of expectation of the writer, where the writer believes that the people may read the poem, even if he doesn't expect, the poem is already there in the form of a literature. So whenever people will read the poem, the memory come alive in a reader. Now the poems that we read, it is not simply written. It has taken the test of the time, of its own time. It could really resist the critical nature of the human beings of its own time. So because it has resisted and it has taken the test of that particular period of time, the critical thinkers and all, and then it has come into the form of a literature, it is a test of time. So the literature is always there in the form of a literature, where the writer says that it is always set just like the sun in the sky, and it is forever in the memory whenever the reader will read. So the lines from A Fitting End to the Wonderful Poem. The title refers to the poet's dejection. It also talks about nature's beauty near Naples and these bottom lines reflect perfectly both the ideas. What these lines are? These lines are, this day which when the sun shall on its stainless glory art, on its stainless glory set. That is, the poem which is written without any stain in it. Okay. Just like the sun is set in the sky, there is no mark of any stain in the beauty of the sun. So also he compares that his literature doesn't have any stain in its own. Will linger though enjoyed, like joy in memory yet. This will be forever in the memory. Lingered means it will always hang in the memory of a reader, that it is a joyful experience of a writer for whom the only soothing is the nature. That is what the aspect of the poem to be understood. So both the ideas. So the bond is made strong with these words. The climax is commendable. Commendable, very strong, very confirm. The poet says, the poet pays rich tributes to nature's ability. He is offering, or we can say that if really the terms that could be better here is Mother Nature, which has the ability to make a man happy. The readers love to offer their compliments to poet's skill. And when we read the poem, we can see that the poet has got that kind of skillful presentation of the literature, where he really gives the shape to the beauty of the nature. So that is a skill that not everybody will possess. So this is all about the Unit 3, the poem written in dejection near Naples. With this I complete the today's video recording of Unit 3 for Semester 2, which is a revision. This is a revision of your syllabus. In the next following video, I will do the next following unit. Then I see that I will continue with the grammar part of the lessons, one after the other. Thank you to one and all. Thank you.